DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Intel, Monster Energy, and U.S. Navy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We just watched Gen G punch their ticket into the finals, and we're hoping to see if a team from North America will be joining them. I want to see that double NA final. I'm your host, Bach. Joining me on the desk all weekend long, Sean Gares and Potter, peacocking it there in the red jacket. Looking good.
You know me.
Yeah, just vibrant as ever. So we're looking at this series right now. Complexity playing against FURIA. Complexity, a lot more for us to go off of compared to FURIA, because we only saw FURIA play through the early stages of the groups. They 2-0'd their way into this point.
Yeah, and they took out Endpoint and North to get here, right? I mean, we didn't see much of Endpoint. No one had high expectations for them. North, we still don't really know what North is, I guess. Obviously, yeah. Gen G looked very strong in that best of 3, so it's hard to really criticize North after something like that. But who knows? You know, FURIA has 4 players in the top 6 players in this event. All 5 in the top 8 in rating. I mean, their players are hitting their shots.
They definitely are, and those stats are slightly skewed because, as Mark mentioned, they've only played those 2 matches, and we have to remember, thinking back on that first day, their CT side overpass, they won 14-1 on that first half, so we didn't even get to see hardly any of their T sides on any maps either. So it's certainly still quite a question mark on FURIA and what they're able to bring.
Well, what we can see is the bracket, so we can see how things broke down and got to this point. We just watched that upper match. It was Gen G versus North. 2-0, but not blowout 2-0. It was a very close game, 16-13, 16-14. They are waiting in the grand final position for the winner of FURIA versus Complexity. Again, there hasn't been an NA team in a final of a DreamHack Open since DreamHack Austin in 2018, and a team has not won since DreamHack Denver of 2017. That was Automatic and Cloud9 when they did it. So he's there again, looking to kind of take that crown back.
Yeah, and he's waiting, and there's a really good chance he can get Complexity in that finals. This is going to be such an interesting matchup, though. I honestly don't know what to expect because FURIA is so aggressive. They're all in your face. But Complexity has these 5 aimers that can punish that style seemingly so easy. But they're a little disorganized, so FURIA could potentially find holes and just destroy Complexity.
And not only that, thinking about the vetoes as well, that in itself is a question mark too, because Complexity is the newer team, the newer organization coming in. FURIA has been around for quite some time, but looking at the maps, Complexity are the stronger team as far as the map pool goes as well. So it's definitely a huge question mark.
Speaking of those players from Complexity, I'm going to make a boomer reference here and say poison. Poison. No one?
No.
Old school hip hop. God, man. I'm so over the hill. I am like well on my way into a valley. But let's keep an eye on Poison.
He is a stud. I don't even know what else has happened. He's the second highest rated player in this event. The only player not in FURIA in the top 5. I mean, he is. Whenever I watch him, whenever he's on the stream, I feel like he does not miss. He never misses. I don't know how that's possible.
And it's a question, when he does start missing, is he still going to be able to keep his cool? Because when you watch him in the real life camera and in this server, he's got ice in his veins. Even in those tense moments, the way he's moving, his decision making, it's all so optimal. And it's very surprising for a team, for a younger player to be able to perform at that level.
Now, Christine, you had mentioned the maps.
Yes.
What maps are we potentially going to be looking at least for the first ban phase?
I think Complexity, depending on how confident they are in that overpass, they're going to either veto that or Inferno. Now, if they float Overpass, we have to assume FURIA are going to probably pick that. They had such a strong opening on that in the first day.
See, I think FURIA should pick into Nuke, but I think Complexity, based on what they did to MIBR yesterday, is going to scare them off of it. I don't think that is telling of what Complexity's Nuke is like. That was more telling of MIBR than it was Complexity. Now, if FURIA could, grasp that, they would pick Nuke. But I think if I were in FURIA's shoes, I would also probably be a bit scared after witnessing what we saw last night.
Inferno and Dust 2 are the first two bands to come out. Not terribly surprising, but there's the picks, Mirage and Overpass. So we waited until semifinals to actually see Mirage played.
Yeah, but now we're going to get it. Now this is
once again.
This is the meat and potatoes right here. Now we're going into the normal maps, right?
And we
Mirage,
get
Overpass,
Nuke on the end.
And Nuke on the end. I can't help but think that this veto goes heavily in the favor of FURIA. I'm not sure how you think about that, Christine.
I have to agree.
Yeah, these three maps are probably like some of their better maps that they play, and some of the worst, the harder ones for Complexity in my eyes, because they require more teamwork.
Definitely, I have to agree. It's just a matter of whether Complexity are going to be able to overcome any sort of barriers or issues or problems. We heard Jason Lake talking about it. He's expecting 6 to 9 months for this team to grow and fill out to their potential. But when they're running up against a wall, if FURIA show up to the way that they did on Overpass on that first day, MSL couldn't get anything going. He couldn't even get out into the playground. So if Complexity were watching that match, which I'm sure they did, they should have an answer. But it's that second step, that second stage. What is FURIA going to do, and how is Complexity going to respond?
We sat down and talked to the teams about their journey through the tournament thus far. Let's take a look.
Everyone's pushing the extremities of this A bomb site, and Yuri, well, he's quickly negated that all pick by bringing us back into a 4-on-4, taking advantage after advantage, and no one's putting a stop to it. How's it still going? How's it still going?
The guys of my team was just playing amazing. Their individual talent just showed off. They're just playing brilliantly. Starting the year like this is awesome for us. That's how we wanted, and that's like the work we done for this tournament is just paying off.
We're actually expecting to go through the group with 2 wins in the BO1s, but it's fine. We took MIBR again in BO3. We were very confident against them, kind of know exactly how they play, and we just called around that, and it worked perfectly. They played the same as we were expecting, and it just went smooth.
Hands up, not able to finish that off. Brought down low. The majority of these players from IBR over towards the tunnels. Config, ooh, does bring it down to the 1v1.
I don't think our opponents is like used for the aggressiveness we have. I think most of them got surprised or get caught by surprise.
We've been playing them a lot in practice lately, so we actually have a pretty good read on a lot of maps from them. So I think it'll be a good matchup for us, even though they play kind of crazy sometimes, so we need to be ready for that.
The opponents should be afraid of us always. We have no fear.
Let's get this semifinal going. We won that trophy.
They say they want the trophy, and this is the team we were talking to when they said it. It's Complexity, heavy on the rise currently.
Yes, indeed. They are heavy on the rise, and I think they're going to remain that way for quite some time. This is a young team full of players that have a lot to learn still, but have the highest mechanical skill that I think we have, out of these new teams that we've seen formed.
I have to agree with you, and what a great feeling it must be if you're Config, BlameF, Obo, all of these players, you look to your left and right, you're able to see highlights like that Config clip just now, that pistol round, or you watch Poison, his clips. These players are tweeting about each other on a constant basis, speaking highly about each other, saying, yeah, I think Poison, my teammate, is gonna be the best opera in the world. So being able to have that sort of confidence in each other, it really can take you quite far, especially in a LAN environment.
I mean, that's a point we've been trying to make all tournament long. Every time we had one of the Complexity players in that chair, how good is Poison? Because DreamHack Open has long since played host to players on the rise. This was like where Zywoo got his start, and we've seen other players similar to that make their rise up, and then you can see the man we were just speaking of, Poison, on stage getting ready to play. unbelievable journey thus far.
Yeah, having that sort of trust system, that sort of buddy system, and just putting your life into your teammates' hands on a regular basis and still coming out on top and almost making it now into the grand final and potentially making it all the way, that boosts your confidence, and it's going to make you feel more confident to take a lot more duels across the map.
We are talking a lot about Poison as the AWP player right now for Complexity, but let's not forget that Henny is on the other team, and he's no slouch at the AWP. He's the... I mentioned this before in the desk, but the stat is so mind-blowing. They have 2 players on FURIA that have the lowest deaths per round in all of CSGO. K-Serrato at number 2 all-time, and Henny at number 4 all-time.
That's
How is that even possible? It's not like FURIA is winning every event and never dying. How's that possible? 2 are on the same team.
It doesn't make sense.
One will drop out.
Does not compute. Eventually, that stat's going to have to, someone's going to have to taper off. But it is prediction time. Christine.
I'm going with Complexity. I'm going with Complexity here. I think, man, that slapping around of MIBR last night, it was quite impressive. And that editing skills on configs, pistol round, it's hyped me up. I want to see more of those kinds of headshots. I'm going with Complexity.
Look. Look, I can't go with Complexity because if I did, I'd never hear the end from Dagny, our producer, so I'm just gonna...
for those at home wondering, a certain someone in production said that Complexity would win the whole tournament day 1, before we even went live.
I am gonna go FURIA though. They look like the hotter team right now. I think they have the playbook already developed. They've been a team for so long. It's going to be hard for Complexity to step up on this stage. They don't have that much experience, and Obo's playing like B-site Mirage. He has to prove to me that he can stay alive during executes, and as such a young player, doing things like that, that's asking a lot out of your 16-year-old star player.
I may be an Eagles fan, a die-hard Eagles fan, but that star does not scare me. Complexity all day long. 2-0 Complexity. They are going to come out swinging hard. And I believe it's going to be very painful for FURIA fans to watch. Twitch, you've been voting at home, and do you believe? Yes, you do. 70-30. Sean is of the 30th percentile. We are going to throw things to a very quick break. When we come back, we will see if we will have an all-NA final if Complexity can take down FURIA. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, one and all, to DreamHack Open Anaheim, and it's going to be a really, really enjoyable semi-final coming your way. Complexity versus FURIA. A lot of tests for this new Complexity lineup. It's packed with firepower. It has some experience now coming out of Blast as well. But FURIA, they've been innovating a lot on their play, reiterating things, strengthening things. They are very well experienced, and I think that maybe Complexity have maybe a bit too much to handle here. What do you think, Dust?
I mean, they did just beat the greatest team of all time not that long ago on land, so I think that they are kind of coming in the more known value, I think. I mean, I know that FURIA's team has been together longer, but they've also had a lot of time off. They've also been retooling their team. You know, for one, they've slowed down their play a lot. I feel like they don't play nearly as fast-paced as they used to, and they've been changing up their roles. Vinny more of an entry fragger in the maps we've seen so far, so I think they have kind of a lot going on. Also, remember, they came into this tournament with very limited practice. That was one of the big talking points earlier on. Meanwhile, Complexity, I think they have a lot to prove, and they are a very fiery, explosive, in-your-face, freight-train team with a lot of firepower. And Poison's coming into this series, the leading MVP candidate of the tournament. He is topping the charts in almost every single category, including you know KD difference and damage per round. He's #1 in those categories. He's been absolutely having a fantastic tournament. And Config finally unleashed himself yesterday. He had a big series against Made in Brazil. Finally see him getting back into his stride. So I think that this is going to be a crazy, fast-paced roller coaster ride of a game.
It certainly will be, and Mirage, as you guys can see, will be the first arena that these two incredible Counter-Strike teams will be battling on, and it's going to be a fantastic way to start things off. So much firepower on both of these teams. Wouldn't want this to start in any other way. Complexity will be on that T side for the pistol, already eyeing up that A set piece. And look at that, holding a smoke grenade on the bomb site. He's looking to try to play the delay game here, Dust, as this push comes through. Quick high flash to slow things down. And they must surely know that someone is playing that position. Why else would there be a smoke? They try to get around to it, but they're struggling. Eventually, Art will go down, but again, a kill did come out of it.
Indeed it did. It helps get them a little bit more leeway as they try to go for this retake a bit later. And in fact, this bomb is being stalled from being planted. There's no smokes left to redeploy to get that safe plant they need. So now they have to kind of win some fights. They decide to pop flash their way towards stairs. Oboe and Blame F able to find some key kills. And the damage being done to Henny as well through connector towards middle. So man advantage for Cole, and it gets even better with that pickup onto Henny. Now all on K Serrato. The bomb can finally take a plant, you would hope, as it does come across. They know where K Serrato is now as well. This is looking pretty good for Complexity to close this one down.
Yeah, he has incredible pistol play. He's looking for that headshot position. He predicts it, but again, you've got to hit the shot too. It's very difficult to do, and K Serrato will not find Fortune's favor this time around. It will be Complexity who pick up that pistol, and they get, if they, in whatever game plan they had, Dust, once you win the pistol, you really start to get that game plan going. You get to have a position where you know what the buys are going to be like for the season very reliably, so you can prepare yourselves.
Hold on a second. I got to point something out here.
Go for it. Oh, yeah.
What's Vinny got?
He's got the revolver. Don't often see this.
All right. He's a rootin' tootin' cowboy, Dan, as that song indicated earlier.
But will he find any connections here?
I wanted to kill.
Yeah, I know.
It didn't happen though, did it?
I don't even know how to build it up. I'm like,
yeah, it's a tough one. It doesn't white pen out, does it? Kills come in for Config and Poison. They have the 4-on-3. They have some good mid control. Rush holding things down in Palace. He is that outside A player on defaults for Cole, which is nice because he can, take a supportive position in certain cases, but also he can find those timings on those peaks. Similar to like Rops from Mouse Sports, where you can kind of double as a playmaker, but also hold ground. And I think that that's great to have a player like Rush who used to be an entry fragger, so he can give you that, but he can also free up space for other players. As we do see Config freeing up Art from having to play any more of this round, taking him out.
And Complexity, is actually a team I've been looking at a lot recently on Mirage, actually on the Skybox, looking at their T sides and so on. Yeah. And they're a team that's fast evolving. And although that there has been what I've spotted some weaknesses here or there, generally speaking, the overall idea is really good, and it's just a question of getting the routine in there, getting the practice, running it tournament to tournament. So
I agree. I think when you watch them play, you can see that they have a plan. Like they have a default established. They have some faster paced plays I like to mix in. It's all just coming down to the team play in chaotic situations, the exact timings, and those are things that just come with time and more play, more official matches. I think even Jason Jason Lake did an interview earlier where I think he thought it would take 6 to 9 months to really get that team play established and get those just tidy everything up, right, and get it a little bit more organized. And I think that's kind of a fair assessment of where they're at right now, but they're still dangerous is the other point. Like, in the short term, they still pack a punch, regardless of some of the sloppiness they might come into sometimes. Yeah, I was really happy to hear that from Jason's interview earlier. I think that, Mousesports currently are definitely a team that, even though you have a very experienced in-game leader and all the pieces, it can take time to find the footing. And so I'm glad that patience is there for this lineup. It's definitely very promising. It delivers some good results so far to back that promise up. And in this round, going into the anti-eco, there are a couple weapons to worry about. The Deagle and armor of Keisarato and that scout in the hands of Henny. Of course, a very well-known sniper, very deadly, extremely quick is Henny, but you got to have a position to shoot from to begin with, and so far Complexity are locking away those angles and the line of sight away from FURIA with their utility. The thing is, though, they might actually run into the stack. There is a chance for it. Poison will be clearing out ladder room. There's a player in window, not quite in the ladder though, but there are 4 players now towards this B side of the map, which actually does give FURIA some chances at pulling this off, despite the fact that they have very limited firepower. But Poison and company doing a great job clearing angles together. The spacing's really good. The timing's where it needs to be. And now they're getting the frag just as they would want to. Vinny and K-Sprout do get a couple back, but there's Oboe to the rescue, leaving Art by himself. That fits the pinch. And there you have 3-star for Colin. I don't really know how good this map is for Complexity just yet. They had a really good win over Vitality at Blast, which ensured them a spot in the spring finals based on this map. But they also had a big loss to Navi. They weren't even competitive in that game. So that is kind of the seesaw so far for them. Limited sample size. And then for FURIA, they used to be historically very good on this map. They've actually lost their last 3 out of 4 games coming into this tournament. And they've had a lot of time off. So I'm not sure how polished they are either. So it's going to be interesting. They're looking like Complexity, not going with the default this round, looking for a quicker A set piece. And FURIA will, there is a time limit for this. If there's no presence whatsoever in mid, you're worrying for that A set piece or the B set piece. That's generally how you're thinking about it if you're in FURIA's shoes. And now obviously the play is coming in, so they absolutely know what's going on. Good smoke from Penny on triple to delay things. Vinny doing a good job as well from under the balcony. Oh, he's done so much damage there, but still, 2v2, good frags coming in on the trades from Complexity here. FURIA were really going for this through the smokes, as opposed to playing retakes. So into this 2v2, Complexity have a really solid situation, although the flank is coming, and I'm not sure if that's going to be anticipated. Yuri is fairly far along with this, and Keisarato just has to wait for Yuri. Maybe fire a bullet. He's trying to create a distraction here, and it's going to work, I think, because Poison's still trained on that triple position. Here comes Yuri. He gets it. But at the same time, Keisarato goes down. Yuri in for that 1v1 here. Config looking for that delay as well. Trying to just toy with his opponent. Doesn't want to commit too hard into this duel until he has to, and he will. And Yuri's going to win it. And does he have time with the kit? He just about has time. Oh, that was a close one. FURIA with the retake in the 2v2. Yeah, Config almost ace clutched that round. He had 4 on that take into the site itself. It was a great execute. Good smokes, good Molotovs down. They had a Molotov on bench as well, as you see thrown there to stop any, success from CTs trying to push around the smokes. And so many entries went Config's way. It just really came down to that flank from Yuri up A ramp, catching Poison off guard, getting him into a winnable 1v1. That's the first round on the board for FURIA. And we'll have Henny onto the AWP now. Rifles still plenty. We see Complexity going back to just a more standard mid-control style. Blame F and Oboe working the underpass. Look at Art, though, looking to get aggressive. Those 2 words kind of just go together, Art and aggression. But he does actually back down in this case. I feel like he has started to become a more reserved player. Over time, I think he's realized that, people have caught on to what you like to do. You have to play a little bit more standard sometimes. For sure. And Complexity going with that delayed mid-take here in their 1-3-1 default. Rush, mixing things up between Palace and A-Ramp. Typically has a lot of success. Actually caught Vitality off a lot by himself when he was playing around the ramp position. And here again, Rush picks up that first defensive kill towards A-Ramp as the TTs try to push. Art goes back in, wants to try to finish him off, does get a lick of damage, but it's not enough to finish him off. And Henny, we talked about how fast he is. That's a great first shot. The second connects as well. He goes back for more.
He can only get so much, and Yuri there, I think that's the jump mouse wheel bug perhaps, something, but it's going to leave K-Serato alone with a UMP, and he's going to have to go out into mid. There might be a gun here for him to collect, so that is going to be a win. Picks up the AKs with some bullets to scope for the spray, trying to stop the plant from behind the boxes. It's not going to be too successful. Now they know exactly where he is. A couple bullets connecting there. It's going to be a tough ask for K-Serato as rushed. Oh my god, he's down to 1 HP. He's so low. But it's so important that he stayed alive. Now they can play the trade game. As K-Serato is going to try to bait them out for the peak here. Gets the first kill. Rush is the last one standing. And he's 1 HP. Rush wins the round. Unbelievable that he stayed alive that entire time from start to finish.
Yeah, Rush has been so on point. I'm so happy for Rush that he finally has like a stable environment to play with. And he was hard done by the whole Optic situation a few years ago. Obviously, he was a part of Cloud9 for so long when they were losing their players left and right and they were falling into shambles. And now I feel like on this team, he finally has a home where he can feel confident that there's a future in it.
Yeah.
And I feel like he played so well at Blast. He was their best player there. It was cool to see him back.
Oh, for sure. And see, Blame F here will get himself some nice eco frags. That's a lovely one. Don't think he knew anything about that, but he will take it, of course. And a quick victory there for Complexity against the eco of FURIA. You know, just waiting until they have enough money to get a substantial buy-in, which we will see in this round, round 7, as FURIA are now down 1 round against the 5 of Complexity. Complexity so successful up until this point. We'll see if the Op will this time do better for the FURIA side.
Yeah, worth noting as well, even though they lost to Navi on Mirage, Big and Blast, Rush individually was really good on this map, and so that's something that they can leverage going into this. Again, he's a really smart outside A player on default, so really knows when he can peek, when he needs to fall back, when he can help entry, when he needs to just be supportive. That's why you like having that guy on your team. Meanwhile, Config and Blame F and company, those are the powerhouse entry players for this team, and they're looking to try to get something going here inside the window room. Art, though, it's just too easy for him. Blame F, not quite on the trigger finger when he needed it most, but look at Rush. He's been able to creep up into Ace, trying to see if he can reel this one back in somehow, finding the duel over here, but it's just not going to work out. Config also fallen, and so it's all on Poison.
All on Poison. He's got the bomb at least, which is something to work with. I mean, he's going to make a lot of sound cues here. They know exactly where he is, which is a problem. He's just going to have to frag out. He's got to hit headshots. There's no way around it, but Yuri will take him out, so 5 players survive. That's completely ideal for FURIA. And Blame F's situation looks a little bit weird there, but in his perspective, I'd imagine he's completely blinded in the smoke, whereas from the other angle, it looked like he could see, but I very much doubt that he could, given that he didn't even shoot a bullet.
Good round from Yuri, by the way. He's actually the top-rated player in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken, but they only played 2 maps, so it's kind of a little bit inflated. But also, the thing is last year he really fell off. Like, he was really losing his form, so it's good to see him back in shape. I think that's good news for FURIA, and if you're a fan of that team. But here we go, Complexity looking for something over towards A very aggressively. And I like this because this allows Obo more action, because he has to default B apartments based on how they set up the team. But now in this round, he can come in swinging, and Config leading the way already finds 1.
Yeah, that's a great entry to kick things off, and Poison finishes off Art. So now they did win the previous round with 5 players, but their money is not really recovered just yet. They don't have a big bank to work with, and I don't think they're going to have any loss bonus at this point. No, they're going to have no loss bonus, so they'll get something like $1,400 in addition to what you see on your screens for FURIA for losing the rounds. So they will be hard-pressed to buy unless they save at least 2 to 3 weapons here. So that's the mission. Complexity will be able to read that as well. But for Complexity, there may be somewhat of a gentleman's agreement because their economy is also very, very weak at this point. So they can't really afford to lose any weapons here either. So they're making the decision to look after their own economy as opposed to damaging their opponent's economy. And that's sometimes the decision that you have to make. And 6-2, everything's going well for Complexity. I think what's interesting here for me, Dust, is that Complexity are finding a lot of success when they're going for these faster contacts or set pieces, but going into that mid round, that shot calling in the mid round, that's when things seem to get a little bit hairy. FURIA get more opportunities, I think, to get people like Henny into positions to do stuff.
Sure.
So the set pieces seem to be working out nicely for Complexity. It
allows them to get their firepower to just to bunch up and play that swarm and trade type style, which someone like Rush is very used to playing that type of style when he's played with teams like Cloud9 and Optic, and so he's very familiar with it. Again, the guy is playing a peripheral role, which is traditionally not an entry role, yet Rush is actually actually ranked in the top 5 this tournament for success in opening duels. So it kind of comes down not only to entering, but also being able to catch pushes. Not only that, Config, a big round there from him. He is in the rank of top 5 for kills per round in this tournament. And again, he had a big series yesterday against Made in Brazil. I feel like he was the one that was a bit more quiet at Blast, but you can only go around with so much, right, when you have so many players trying to be stars.
Yep.
But he definitely is now asserting himself here in Anaheim.
Yeah, one thing Complexity has is a really strong winning spirit. Very competitive and kind of championship mindset to them. Here's a big aggression in mid there. Art will open things up, taking down Config. And they're looking to hold on to this position. Very disruptive. You know, Complexity were running a default, and the mid portion of the default has been dealt with by FURIA. They get the pick. So it puts Complexity in this mid-round shot calling position where they have to say, all right, where are we going to go? We're going to cycle back. FURIA don't know whether it will be A or B, but they know, you know, it's not going to be a mid split. So it's one of those two. So they put 2 players on B for the defense. The push comes through. Can they make it past the initial grenade? That's a great opener from Poison. But K Serato is in position like a snake in the grass. Reveals himself right bench. They line up. He's done enough, I think, to get a look in from Vinny. But Rush, he gets the double. And now it's a 2v2 retake situation.
Oh, he's going to go for that bomb plant. Henny, though, might find a timing to catch him. Indeed, he does, but the bomb does actually still complete itself. And so Blame F, he's going to have a chance to add a clutch to his collection. He's had a couple this tournament, as he is still playing here inside the B apartment, biding his time, milking the clock as much as he possibly can. There is a kit in play for Henny, so that does give them a bit more time to work this out. That's a great incendiary as well. It forces Blame F, but he's got a Molotov for the bomb. Did it land in place? Yes, it does. Henny is burning. He's trying to defuse through it all. Oh my goodness. It doesn't happen, does it? So now it's Art up next to try to do it. He does get the kill, but does he have the time? No, he does not. Complexity pulls it off. What a smart play from Blame F.
Oh, that's so unreal. I can't believe it. I wasn't sure if he would make it or not with the defuse because he started defusing it before the molly started it, ticking. And there is usually, you can actually make it happen usually. But the other thing too is that I don't think it actually mattered here, but I believe the T-Molotov does more armor damage. Is that correct? Pretty sure it does. Either way,
I'll go with you on that one.
Either way, doesn't matter. Yeah. Worked out for Complexity.
By the way, that's Blame F's 5th 1vx this tournament, which ties him for first place for clutches. So nice. Well done there from Blame F. And speaking of the man himself, he does some entry work too, a time or two, and he gets that one, but it is traded back.
That's a very, very solid shot from Henny. That's not an easy one to hit. Under pressure, Henny can deliver. He picks up another one, giving his team a chance to recover what is otherwise a fairly desperate situation because now they've lost the bomb site and the remainder of FURIA need to go for that retake. Yuri, as ever, very quick on the flank. They've not even planted the bomb yet. He's going to hit a timing window where I don't think they're going to have full attention on this. Obo, you can see he's checking. He's been burned by this before, and he's going to get burned again. And pulling out the nade, Yuri. He thought that he was free to do so. He was not. But the bomb is not down just yet. That gives K Serato precious time to work out exactly how to attack this position. He knows, I think, that nobody has quite crossed. He's checking for it, but no one's crossed. So he does have some key information here as to how to clutch this out once that bomb goes down. But you can see Complexity are using the clock. That time is a commodity. They're investing in it. They're using it to try to bait out K Serato, but he's too smart for that.
Yeah, it's just tough. They don't have a smoke, so they can't really block off any angles to plant completely safe. They could just go for the default plant, and they have one guy who can watch CT spawn to try to make sure the plant goes off. And indeed, that's exactly how it's going to play out. But K Serato uses that to his advantage, knowing he has a 1v1 while the bomb's being punched in. Gets the kill onto Palace. Now he only has a weakened Rush left in front of him to steal a third round away for FURIA. And indeed, he will pin Rush down. What a brilliant clutch there from K Serato. That's what he's most well known for. He'll get the defuse. That's a third round for the Brazilians.
That is just beautiful. Again, like really, the reset almost hurt Complexity because they were trying to reset that and just use the time to suggest that maybe they rotated back out to B. And K Serato, he had such a good read to the situation because he had that info. And when that plant starts, he knows he gets the 1v1. And what a beautiful way to finish it off. Just such a intelligent player as well as such a deadly one.
Yeah. Here's the problem, though. FURIA have yet to streak together rounds in a row this entire game. So their economy is definitely suffering because of that. So they really need a couple in a row if they want to start challenging Complexity, who's really just been a dominant force throughout this half. And they had the 3-0 start. They've had a couple of 2-round winning streaks mixed in. They've held the lead very firmly. And again, they're changing things up with a little bit more heavy B pressure. Blame F this time leading the charge. Again, he's kind of that leader by example, that guy who can entry. And the guy's built like a bulldozer, so you can't blame him for taking on those types of positions. But I think that's another key tool for Cole is that they have an in-game leader who can frag out. It gives them that additional firepower.
It's also showing presence like that kind of suggests that that he's it's a default and he's lurking, and so that really doesn't tell FURIA almost anything. That he gets a few shots off there, so it's kind of free. And if he gets the pick there, obviously they get some options. So I like that a lot from Complexity, and they rotate back out into an A play. And FURIA, they do have some players in position. This could be nasty. Henny's there with the AWP on ticket, and it looks like a contact here. Complexity are going to be in trouble, and great damage has been done, but no frags for Complexity, for FURIA thus far. Henny now has to do so much. What a fadeaway shot from Henny, and the double scope will be the end of Henny as the trades come through, but the numbers are superior for Complexity until Serato once again in the 1v2, or 1v3 essentially, picks up that first one. That bomb again needs to be planted. It's a similar situation, but this time, Rush has an AWP, and he knows where Serato is coming from, and that makes the difference.
Yeah, it's a team ace, a star frame Complexity. Everyone getting a piece of that one. Look at that frag distribution over there. Everyone's pitching in. Good to see them firing on all cylinders. A round they probably should not have won, if we're being honest with what they had to work with. Yet they get it done. And again, FURIA, 3 rounds in Island in a sea of Complexity success. It's such a big half so far here for this organization.
Yep. I think there's been like a couple clutches that could really have just changed everything. For example, that one moment with the defuse where Blame F is sitting in the B apartments. That's such a huge moment. And there's so many small little clutch situations which are really tipping Complexity over the edge here. I feel like they've generally had like a pretty good, like both teams had a pretty good approach. But even stuff like, for example, there was that one round where Rush gets to pick on A ramp. Sometimes Rush is going to be in Palace, so he doesn't get that duel. Like just small things really working out in Complexity's favor. But they're playing it very well on top of that. So.
And now they almost get a freebie. In this one, you have to imagine just USPs, except for the one upgraded pistol for Yuri. And there's some HE grenades out there as well, sprinkled about. But as those nades go out, they do tear up Config, to be fair, but no one else took any damage. So it's just one softened target. Config will have to take that on the chin. As Complexity will look to now start exercising a bit more control of this area. I haven't even seen anyone use the new bench yet. I mean, I've seen them do this, but no one's actually jumped in the window. They're still doing the normal boost.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying before. It only really messes us up playing pugs, really.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes more noise, right? If you have to do it yourself and run and jump off the bench. So that's the silence of doing a teammate boost is more important.
I mean, you can always cover the noise, I guess, with someone shooting or throwing nades, but generally, yeah, it's mostly about destabilizing the cat player, I think, with a headshot peek. But Obo, he's out there. They try to close around with the B place, looking pretty good for Complexity. Nothing really to stop them. And they will put that 9th round on the board shortly.
And not much we could expect from FURIA in this round, could we? It was kind of built for Complexity to take it, considering that they have such a poor economy. As Blame F continues to kind of just mop up some kills. He's run out of bullets with the SG. They always had to pull up the clock, and that's not what he needed. So Serato will be able to collect that weapon, which we know how much of a nuisance that gun can be in the hands of a CT.
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. I think this is actually a huge win for FURIA, being able to take that into following rounds. There are certain positions where those scope rifles can really be an enormous benefit. So we'll see how they decide to use it. But yeah, you've got to take the small wins. The Complexity, though, got some pretty big wins here. 9-3 is the score now on their T side. They've already got a pretty significant number of rounds on the T side. If they got no more, they could be very happy with it.
Oh, absolutely.
But they're threatening a lot more unless FURIA can find a way to kind of switch things up here. And it looks like FURIA are struggling to do so. I'd like to see more A-ramp takes. I think that could be something that could work out for them, or mid-aggressions to throw off the default.
Yeah, that or just like getting Henny's op more involved early. Like let him go take a palace peek, or let him, make a play. I mean, Henny is that fast-paced, crazy opper, and I feel like he's been maybe kind of leashed up a little bit. Let him off and let him see what he can do. That could be a big difference maker. We know how impactful an op can be, CT side of Mirage, and he's one of the guys that actually been performing pretty well for this team through all their issues. I mean, we talked about the up and down 2019 FURIA, how they started out strong at, Masters Dallas and at ECS, but then kind of faded away towards the end. And Henny, through all that, was actually the guy that kind of came in to help the team out. And so we'll see if he can do something this round, as Unfortunately for him, he's been smoked off his position.
Trickling those flashbangs in to mid. Config, he knows that Vinny's around the corner, and he's absolutely nailed him. Will try to peek out there to try to have something in middle to try to, like, they just don't want to have a situation where they lose kills and get nothing back in return. But I don't think that there's any other fate that they can find in this kind of rounds.
They are actively challenging Complexity's mid control, but they're losing all the fights. I mean, to be fair, Config actually just pushed up connector, though, and actually just threw it out. And I love seeing this config. This is the config that was the star player of North a few years ago, having those big runs at EPL, and he was a superstar entry fragger. And that's the other thing. Like, I think there's so many redemption stories in place on Cole, like individually, whether it be Rush's, rise back, whether it be Config's next chance. It's fun to watch.
It certainly is, and this round is not done just yet. Henny's on that AWP by the stairs position. Doesn't have to worry about connector just yet. Well, maybe he needs to now, because Config just got a pick. He's made his way into window. Henny is trying to get out there. He misses a crucial shot. He'll be able to pick it up eventually, but it's 1v2 again for K-Serato. Again, K-Serato has to deliver, but he can't again. It's simply too much. Positioning and timing not in his favor. And it can't keep being this situation, does, where K-Serato is left in really difficult spots that has to clutch.
I mean, it's one of those things where the style of play that Complexity can bring to the table is a very snowball-y style. Like, if they're feeling it, if they got that momentum, if they got that confidence about them, with the tools that they have and with the pace they can bring, it can be overwhelming. And I mean, FURIA knows that style. They play that style too, or at least they used to. And so you would think maybe they'd have some protocols in place to try to manage some of this, but so far they have really faltered. Just off to a cold start. Complexity red hot right now as they look to put some finishing touches on this half. This time they'll be doing an anti-eco over towards upper B at first, but they decide better of it.
Yeah, it's just looking like such a bad situation for FURIA right now. Just some deagles. The AWP is on Henny, of course, and he is playing that setup on A ramp with Vinny close, and this is that old Fallen setup. Fallen popularized, and Henny, who better to emulate such an aggressive AWP position. Obo looking for that pick here, being that B lurk as he often is in their defaults. Yeah. Usually him on the B apps and Rush on the other side.
I hate it because I like Obo a lot, and I wish he had a little bit more room, but you have to make room for everyone, right? And sometimes someone's going to get the short end, but Obo can be that playmaker here at the very least and cause a lot of disturbance on his own. They can still be used for set pieces in other situations. And it's going to be him and Rush looking to try to tag team their way into this B-bomb site now. Blame F also going to be in the mix, of course. All the kills go in the way of Complexity. K-Serato does manage to get one back, but that's going to be about it seems, as this bomb is going to go down any moment. Blame F cutting off rotations in middle. And I mean, again, FURIA's economy has been absolutely in tatters all game long. That's the repercussions of the win one, lose one, never streaking rounds together. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. And I do like how they had the insurance policy in Blame F in this round. Just in case things didn't go too well towards B, he creates options towards that connector position. Also slows down rotations. And he, unfortunately, will lose that AWP. It was maybe the only beacon of hope left for the FURIA side. And I mean, they will have enough money to purchase AWPs again, but unfortunately they will be lacking in other categories if they are to buy an AWP because their money's not amazing. And he will be able to pick up the AWP again, but he's only got a flashbang with that. K-Serato is also going to double up here on the AWPs with Henny. Got a flash and a smoke.
It's interesting. It's not Art. That would normally be the guy that would take a second op on this team, but K-Serato, maybe just the position he plays over towards B, it makes more sense for him to have it. It also gives Art the freedom to be aggressive with the rifle, which is indeed going to be his play, and he does in fact catch Config there in the smoke. It was a bit awkward, but he did get the job done. But B, in the meantime, has also been taken. K-Serato, though, with that second op, delivering good for one, but Obo, a fantastic trade, gets them the site.
Yeah, down in numbers, but they have some position here. That's a really smart play from Art, buying some more space, which really prevents the T's from pushing him, and he's got some extra cover to work with as that molly comes in. Nice find from Obo, though. That is really important. Now the smoke comes down in the window, which might allow the CTs actually to get out of that position, and they go for the charge. But Obo says no, as he denies them completely. A quick double from him, as now Henny's left to go shotgun mode with the AWP, and Obo is all his as he finishes off the half for Complexity with that 12-3 scoreline. What a way to start things off. FURIA have a lot of answers to find in this short break. We'll be back with you soon. Welcome back, Counter-Strike fans. You are watching DreamHack Open Anaheim, the first DreamHack on the West Coast, and we are into the second semi-final of today. FURIA and Complexity facing off, and now Furious go to that T-side dust. Now they get to take the initiative. Maybe we'll see a different side of them.
Yeah, right now they're getting slated, as the old hashtag goes by Complexity. They're feeling the rush. I'll get all that in for you, Jason Lake. Don't you worry. Get those hashtags out there, as it's been a rough ride so far for FURIA. But as you said, maybe on the T side, things can go a little bit better, as they have some good smokes down to get them into this A bomb site. Complexity playing that retake A setup, though. They do have a couple of grenades, a smoke and a flash themselves to work with to try to get back in. And Rush does have a kit, so let's see what they can do.
Let's see what they can do. Rush there. Oh, that HE actually could be quite juicy. They're going to go for the flash play. He's actually caught them. A few tags there, nothing too severe, but they have to win this CT fight. Can they take it? They are forcing FURIA back now, so they're doing a pretty good job. That opens Poison up to some jewels. It's a great snap as well from that USP, leaving it on Yuri's shoulders, but his head will be blown clean off of said shoulders as Config reigns supreme, gets the defuse, and Complexity pick up the pistol in a decisive fashion. Dust. This is not how FURIA get back into this map.
No, it's not. That ain't it, as some people would say. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, we might even get to see Furious T-side at this rate, unless they can come up with something crazy. They do go for the buy up in this one. The classic, get a bomb plant, get a couple SGs, get some utility. The problem is if this doesn't work, I mean, Complexity's almost guaranteed map point. So
yeah,
this is kind of all their marbles going here and now.
Well, at least, Config missed the jump. I don't know if that would have actually helped them or hindered them, considering there's a big top mid presence. Config, though, will take down Vinny, so maybe it hurt them at the end. Quick HE through. Good damage through that smoke, though. It does give opportunities for FURIA in the coming moments.
Oh, here you go. Finally, the bench got used for a self-boost. Art used it, and so he's in window. Art is always in window, I feel like, on T-side for FURIA. He's a very aggressive, wily guy. He loves to take this position and try to use it, but I'm sure BlameF is aware that that's a real strong possibility, and you could see it. BlameF's waiting for that. So this is bait, but unfortunately, he can't win the fight. Art instead will dispatch of him, but look at Config. He's out here doing some big things, finds Henny, and able to get away and get the kill on Art as well. That is devastating.
In Denmark, they call that Config aim, I have heard. And, well, this is looking rather difficult for FURIA.
Ouch.
Well, that is one way to put it, at least. Oh, Keserato in a hopeless scenario again. They know exactly where he is, and he'll get taken down. So, very easy round for Complexity. They have dealt with the force buy without any difficulty, and as you said, Dust, pretty much guarantees them in a game.
I don't want to be a victim of the bystander effect. I feel like this is a crime we should be reporting. Like, this is brutal.
Yeah, and one quick note, actually, for people with the play that Art made in the smoke, where he gets the pick. When you're sitting in the smoke, as it dissipates, you actually get a one-way for about half a second. So normally that player will have advantage. You'll see pros utilize this quite a lot.
So now it's all Deagles for FURIA, the old Deco. That's all they got. They have to save up a little bit of money so they can full buy next round and stop Complexity from getting the W. And we'll see if they can pop off. They have a couple of guys who can certainly use the Deagle to good effect, but Complexity have been just so on point. It's hard to see them letting this slip through. No utility either for FURIA, so they're going to have to just brute force with aim.
And the cool thing here is that you can see the Complexity understand that. One of the ways the team in FURIA's position gets in here is if they get a pick. Where are they are most easily going to get a pick? Well, a swing on mid is usually the easiest way to do it. So they play passive positions. They can allow FURIA to get a plant here. Doesn't matter if they get a plant, because the retake strength for the CTs is huge. What an angle. What an angle from Art. Great boost there. Very creative way to find that pick that they were looking for.
Good response, at least, from Rush to stop the bleeding a bit there. Getting that kill is pretty big. Poison coming in now as well with that scout. And everything's going the way of Complexity now. There's really no stopping them, is there? As Poison continues to add to his stats. Again, the top-rated player in the tournament. Highest KD ratio. Leading MVP candidate for my money. That's a brilliant pickup from Complexity, by the way, getting Poison. They snagged him away from a couple other teams, and he's proved to be very valuable. And there you have it. 15-3. This is... I mean, you couldn't ask for better, I feel like, if you're a Complexity fan.
Yeah, absolutely. There's really not been any danger.
No, not at all.
Some of these rounds, like the Deagles, you know, because we're coming off of that first semi-final as well, where every round was potentially quite dangerous, even if it's just a few deagles, and we were seeing that repeatedly. But now, FURIA not really on the server at the moment on Mirage. Nope. All complexity.
It's looking real grim, excuse me, for FURIA here. They need to win out to get an overtime. And, I mean, they've yet to win a round in a row, period. So to ask them to do 12 in a row is, I can't see it. But we'll see if they can at least prolong the inevitable.
They do have good firepower, but they don't have utility. That's really the issue. 2 smokes are remaining at this point, as you guys can see on your screens, which doesn't afford FURIA many options. They're trying to play around connector to try to get this connector pick. They know Blame is hanging out somewhere. But Blame is going to be the ones to get the better of this situation. The boost does come in handy, but Config's got an even better boost to hand. And that's actually going to create a nice response to the complexity. But as I say that, the swing from K-Serato makes all the difference. And the true intentions of FURIA, that A play is now known, and there's not too much to deal with it. Obo, giving it a good, solid college try, though. He's able to take down 1, but he's still in a disadvantageous situation. FURIA could even rotate to B if they wanted, but they will commit to this A push, looking to catch Obo on a peek, and he's given the peek, and he's going to give the frag as well.
So there you have it. FURIA get their first round of the half. 3-0 starts from Cole, and both halves are a big portion of their victories thus far. Again, FURIA yet to connect 2 rounds in a row, all map long. Now must do so to stay alive in this one. Again, they have obviously their pick coming up next, which is Overpass, if I'm not mistaken. So still not out of it just yet. But this map is fading pretty quickly. Oh, that's a big pick up there from Art onto Config to get them some mid control and get them an early man advantage in this round.
And there we go, you know, FURIA, the default's going really well. They got that initial pick, they've got that mid control, the top con smoke is there as well. So now they can rotate back to get the bomb, they can go B, they can go A. They've already set up for A here, so we'll see that be the mission, that's the goal.
Good push here from Blame F, though, on A ramp. That's exactly the kind of play that you have to make when you're down a man and you need information or you need some type of pivot point. And he actually will get bypassed because it's going to be connector palace smoke. So he could actually pose a really big threat late on a retake. But as I say that, Art, he's a little bit concerned. He's going to be right. Great pick up there from Art. Good awareness. That pretty much ends the round.
Yeah, they have such a great cognizance that there's probably a play at A ramp. And I love that they're taking that safe path to palace with the bomb. Just very well played by FURIA this round. But this is one of those rounds where everything does go right. Their opening on the default picks up the map control that is intended to have happen. So you get cat control, window, and connector, and they get a pick, and then they get to build up the split afterwards. So you can't really ask for a more ideal way for your default to play out than that.
Right.
But they have to repeat that. They have to keep repeating that. And if I'm Complexity, I'm thinking of ways to get aggressive against that default to see if just disrupting it would just crush FURIA. Because Complexity, their players are firing off.
I'm not even sure if FURIA's default is like actually well set up yet, because I know that they, a while back, had shifted K-Serato being their outside A player. And they've been on every other map trying to get Vinny more and more involved as like an entry type player. And that he obviously had, and other people have been trying to play B apartments, and he's now seen Yuri play B apps once, Henny played it once, so it's like it's not really set in stone yet. Like there's still a little bit of tooling going on there, and so there could be some chances for Complexity to, again, catch a FURIA team who apparently only had just 6 or 7 days of practice coming into this tournament, and that's not a lot to figure things out.
There we go, Vinny is that first man in, trying to defend against this push, and indeed we get that mid-aggression that I was wondering about. Complexity trying to throw off that FURIA default. If you can take care of that mid part of the default, you can almost win a round off of it, so that's why they're going for that. But unfortunately for them, it's not going to work out too well. It made a lot of sense, they don't have much utility. Aren't able to finish off the weakened config.
He just had a better pistol. He definitely had the jump on him there. It could have been interesting. Well, but hold the phone, because Poison and Obo still have a little bit of hope left after that frag. K-Serato spots one towards stairs, some bullets exchanged, but no kill just yet. Meanwhile, Obo worried about mid, and he would be right to do so. There is certainly one member there looking to cross into Catwalk. It's going to be Yuri, and he gets that frag. Oh my goodness, it's getting interesting, but the problem is that the bomb is going down at B, and they don't really have any positioning towards that area, so not sure what they're really going to be able to accomplish.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, because Poison doesn't have any money, he is definitely convinced to save here. But they are going to be buying next round, I think. Actually, what's the loss? I'm going to check the loss bonus real quick. So it's going to be the third round of loss bonus for Complexity, which means that they're going to have $2,400 in addition to what you see. So they're all going to be able to buy, except Poison if he loses his gun. So Poison's very much in a position where he really wants to keep hold of that Krieg. They need to save at least one gun, and they can have that full buy with the rifles. But I don't think we're going to see an AWP necessarily. No one will have enough money to purchase it. So that could change. That could make things interesting, because they might once again throw another aggression out there. Maybe not the mid aggression, but something else. A ramp push or something like that, an underpass push.
Yeah. It's just nice seeing some life out of FURIA. I mean, they're still far and away from posing a real threat to Complexity, but at least they're starting to take those first baby steps towards making it competitive. As it will be Complexity onto a buy, but it's a little bit less than ideal with Config having to be on a FAMAS and no AWP, but still a good bit to work with. And Blame F and company are actually doing a pretty damn good job. An equal exchange out there in middle to kick things off, but that's going to favor FURIA just a bit.
Yeah, this is a really cool move as well. If you don't think the other team can play the mid round as well as you. Oh, but speaking of which, Henny's got a great position. Oboe completely exposed, going for the jump spot. And maybe that's that experience situation Sean was alluding to on the desk. Can Oboe have the experience to handle the B situation as well? And Henny's smashing it, absolutely crushing this round at the moment. B is now just completely secure, and there's nothing left for Rush.
But that's also illustrating the change to B apartments. It used to be a safer jump spot.
Yep.
Now much more of your body is exposed when you go for that, and that made it a little bit easier for him to pick up on Oboe. And so another round goes the way of FURIA. They will now move up to 7. Rush just trying to hold on to this M4 on the opposite side of the map. Could even go grab this kit and connector. That would be a nice find that he wouldn't have to worry about buying. Decides, nah, he'll just get the SG and get out of there. It was a little bit more of an awkward push to try to go grab that kit. It was a little bit further down. Would have put him at risk to get caught.
All right, so FURIA, they're working their way back into this one.
Yep.
I'm liking some of these mid-aggressions from Complexity as well, because even though so far it's been going to FURIA, they just need one round, and if they get to a situation, another 3v3, again, it just feels very, very, very doable for the CT side, and there might be a spot where they actually come out ahead on the kills in mid, and as soon as that happens, again, they're very favorable to win that one round that they need. Whereas FURIA, it's got to be very scary because they're taking their life in their hand every time they go mid right now.
Yeah, until they get to like 10 or 11 rounds, I don't think that Complexity are worried too much. I think that's whenever they may start to break a bit of a sweat, whenever FURIA actually get to double digits and start really chipping away at the big lead. Now it's still safe territory. They do have a couple of good pieces of weaponry here for Cole to use. It is limited, but there still is enough to give FURIA some real problems. And again, all they need is just one thing to go right and they win the map. So very much in control of things as, again, FURIA showing a new style to themselves. A much slower, more standard, more default. It's nice to see them kind of expanding their game. And again, it's interesting to see how much they're shifting their roles. Like, it's kind of been all over the place.
I think is that top con smoke that are being lined up.
Right.
So that's going to allow them to progress in middle a little bit. They can throw the Molotov into connector to start really trying to take over this position, clear out any players. Actually, they won't need to actually do that because there's no smoke on the CT side of things. And Blame F, maybe they did need the Molotov. How has he done that with the UMPs, taking 2 of them down? And this should have been a given this round for FURIA. But all of a sudden, desperation in mid, and Yuri delivers 2 quick kills. That is excellent for FURIA. Keeps the round alive as now the A bomb site is under control. FURIA, they needed someone to step up and take control of the situation. K Serato stepped up to the plate, delivered that A bomb site, and now they can get that safe plant. And Oboe,
yep,
it's going to be the clutch of the century here. This is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be tough with no kit as well in his possession. He does have a smoke to cover the bomb, so that could come into play. Does angle around, spots one sandwich, but that's going to be the end of it. Henny finds the kill. And I think the big kills there was Yuri. He actually got, I think, triple peaked at top middle and actually still got all the kills he needed to stay in the round. Because if he would have gotten caught, then all of a sudden that retake gets way more dangerous. And here we're going to see it right now. Gets, peeked from Cat by a couple players, by Window. Just was able to angle himself into some 1v1s and win them all, so that was really big. But now the full buy is back. The double op is in play. Config being that secondary opper for this team on most of their maps. So he will have it.
And the set pieces that work so well for Complexity on their T side. Now Complexity will be on the receiving end of one, it looks like. Or is it a fake, actually? Get some players going back through T spawn here in towards... Is it going to be mid or B apartments? So they're going towards middle. Trying to cause a response from Complexity, maybe an overinvestment of utility. But Complexity are actually holding onto their utility really, really well at the moment.
Yep. Also interesting to see that Art has the AWP instead of Henny. Usually it's been Henny ever since he joined the team as a primary opper. Art kind of gave that up, but now you do see him with it here on this mid push. As they are controlling cat and ladder room pretty well now. BlameF is in window. He's had a couple of situations not go his way in this window against Art. But we'll see if maybe this time it fares a bit better. I think he did just spot someone there on top of that cat railing. So he knows kind of what's going on.
The kind flash there for Poison. He wants to get in the action here with this AWP. We know what he can do. The committed player is coming behind the bench, and so Poison could, they're so close to him now. There's one quick frag. No one looking for the trade just yet, but it will be had there by K-Serato. Ever trusty is K-Serato. He needs to get the bomb planted though. Now time is starting to be an issue. BlameF can smoke that off. That is a relief for him. He will be able to keep himself alive and reposition with the flashbang. So again, holding on to that utility really paying off for BlameF in that situation. Config is carrying the AWP in for this retake. They're both going to be coming in from CT spawn. And at this point, there's no more utility for them to use. They have a kit at the very least. They do have time to try to make these frags work. But FURIA don't have to peek at all. They can commit them really deep before they reveal their positions. Doesn't look like they're going to go for this at this point.
That was like a conditional retake. You know, maybe if you find a kill bright and early in it, then you can go for it with the 2v2 with the kit in your possession. But when they didn't find anything, they had to just go ahead and back off and save these weapons. So FURIA will leap up to 9. Double op will be retained. If you do see the second one being picked up there by BlameF. They'll be able to roll that over. But FURIA starting to get something going here. They've now won 6 in a row. No gun rounds yet for Complexity. They just need one, though, just one.
One cool detail I've seen from quite a few rounds of Complexity, which I think is an adjustment to the new Mirage, is they're leaving the vents, the rat hole, unbroken quite a lot of the times, which I guess gives them the option that if they want to give up that window position, that, you know, those easy, you know, self boosts even, that the higher frequency that you might see of window plays, which, I mean, they're playing FURIA anyway, and FURIA will love to do that, regardless of this new change or not. That does give them this option that if there's going to be a play into CT spawn, the Ts will have to make a sound cue, so they'll be alert to it.
Right.
So that's a cool detail that I've spotted so far from Complexity.
Good point. So as we mentioned, double op does roll over, but it's Deagles is the only weapon for the remaining players. But still certainly enough to win a round, and they just need that one. As we are going to see FURIA pick up the pace a little bit, it seems like lots of forces headed towards B apartments. That's where one of the ops are going to be. It's going to be Config. He misses his shot. That's a big pick from K-Serato. Now it's all Oboe. He's getting pressured so much utility in his face. Couldn't really find the mark. Can't blame him for that. And that's a clean sweep now from FURIA inside the B-bomb site. Not even really losing any HP. Just 1 hit point to Art. So there you have it. That's a 10th for FURIA. And it's starting to get a little bit scary now. Now is whenever you need to start. You don't want to hit the panic button. It's not quite there yet, but there's a chance now. There's a reasonable chance that overtime comes into play.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it definitely speaks to the experience and resilience of FURIA to be in such a desperate position. But I'm
just saying there was that one time a North American team was ahead on Mirage in a big way, and then there was this one Brazilian team that came and made a crazy comeback on Mirage and ruined their dreams. And I don't want that to happen again for the sake of the sanity of some of the people out there. But I'm just saying there's a precedence there, and I'm just throwing that out there.
It was this boost. It's actually quite surprising Config misses that shot. That fast boost is actually such a great counterplay. If he gets that first pick, he falls off. Then there's 2 players alive and anticipating the push to come in. They can delay enough for the rotation. The round looks completely different. So it's actually kind of nuts that Config missed that. He is such a steady pair of hands as well. Was a great anticipation from Complexity, but got to follow through on the shots. Doesn't always go your way. As you say, Dust, here we are. Full utility, 5 creeks in FURIA. And same situation for Complexity with the AWP on Poison. Everybody has everything they could possibly want in this round.
And again, so far we've seen a more reserved FURIA, a more calculated FURIA. And it's nice to see that diversity to their game now. They still have that nature about them where they can get aggressive. So you're still going to see Art making those crazy plays in window. And, you know, you never know when you're going to see that fast-paced play. And so Complexity has to kind of always be on their toes on what play might get thrown at them. And again, it seems like a heavy B play, at least in the beginnings, is shaping up. We don't know if they're actually going to follow through, but the numbers are there.
Yeah, and Oba doesn't have anybody playing Catwalk with him, so he's got nothing to work with here at all. They've completely exposed Complexity's more mid and A heavy setup, and there's just nothing that they can do now. They just need to save their guns.
Absolutely.
There's 4 players there for FURIA, and they've got plenty of post-plant utility here, so Comfy's going to take the AWP. He's going to shoot his gun a little bit, and that's just going to create some presence, so that will effectively convince FURIA not to push quite as quickly, so it gives him more time to rotate back out safely. And, you can see FURIA pretty happy to allow for that to happen. And
yeah. Almost just getting caught in that corner a lot. And I'm not sure what the solution would be, if it's playing a safer spot somewhere else, or if it's, it's hard to find an exact solution, but something has to give here because I feel like FURIA is really starting to exploit that area. They've had a lot of success finding openings in this site.
Yeah, and that's also one of those things where, we did have, Sean highlighting over on the desk. I feel like this is not a situation where we can really think about that too much, just because it was actually the overall setup of Complexity that was the issue. And it's also something of we talk about build order losses, right? The setup that they open the round with, they're just unfortunate that FURIA's first move is a direct counter.
Right. And that is going to happen sometimes in this game. Sometimes you're just going to get a little bit lucky where you call the exact right play. But at least both teams are still fully bought, so we still have everyone at full capacity. As again, Oba will be trusted to play B solo. Poison and Blaine up looking to be aggressive once more at middle. Smokes in their faces, but Poison slipping through is going to find Art. Finally an opening kill for Complexity. It feels like they've had a hard time finding early advantages in these recent rounds, but now it's all coming together right when it matters most.
Yeah, that Art moving up by himself on Cat like that is a huge tell of a B split. The classic, more Danish type B split that we used to see from MSL teams, and now Poison is just absolutely smashing them. What a flick shot. Now he's just starting on them, and there's nobody left. It's just Finny. Not anymore. Obo takes him down, and that's a wrap for the first map. Mirage goes to Complexity. Maybe it could have happened a bit quicker, Dust, but they got there in the end.
Yeah, it was a labored one, but they were always in control, and they did find a way to finish. And so, with that said, we're going to have some more CS later, but first we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you the rest of the semifinals, so stay tuned.